Have you back now. Time to look at what the papers are saying on their front pages. Let's quickly start with our sister publication as is routine. This day newspaper, Ganduje, no vacancy in Aso Rock in 2027 Ribadu. Social media is a local global threat, now national security priority. Hence 2019 security strategy on the review. At the topmast, NUPRC begins fresh oil fields bid round, offers 17 blocks for sale. The Porch, petrol hits 800 as 240 million litre vessels arrive. Because customers on the topmast, customers panic. CBN bans OPay, PalmPay, others new accounts. Petrol, I just read that now. Tinubu will end economic sabotage, Shetima tells African leaders. Tribune, let's look at Tribune. Forex Crisis, EFCC to freeze 1,146 individual company accounts. Down below that picture, UTME results, 8,401 candidates score above 300. Black marketers have field day as petrol sells for 8,000 per litre. And a do to pay 70,000 minimum wage. Nigeria must spend 10 billion yearly till 2034 to revive power sector, says the Minister Adelabu. Which other people now? Let's look at New Telegraph before we go international. New Telegraph. We seek permission from bandits to farm on our lands. FG must reverse electricity tariff hike. Senate is insisting. And financial sector's loss to fraud rises by 23% to 17.67 billion naira. Let's look at some international newspapers. The Guardian first. USAF quits as first minister after coalition gamble triggers SNP crisis. Sunak rules out Ireland deal on asylum seekers, and Hamas urged to accept general ceasefire Israel plan. Daily Mail. The fall. Well, that's an opinion. All schools warned on sextortion epidemic. Foreign gangs are blackmailing hundreds of children over intimate pictures online. National Crime Agency tells teachers. And Meghan won't join her in UK, but will visit Nigeria. The Daily Express. Hunt tax cuts are a priority. Let's look at the Times. The Times is going. What you see there is not that the Times. Okay, we'll have the Times here. The Times South Africa, good, beautiful. Maybe we'll come and look at that. The Times later on. It says the Times. Thank you and goodbye from the Times staff. Good night, sweet prince. This is about the Times going, but being replaced by Time Select. What they call an incarnation is going to replace a digital incarnation called Times Select. Will be replacing the Times. Let's look at I. PIP disability benefit could be cut using new system with 6 years. Labour plotting to sweep Scotland after SNP implosion. All right. Let's not go there. All right. Let me welcome our guest, Dr. Constance Ikoku, and Lemi Ugabe. Glad to have both of you joining me on the program this morning. Let's start with our sister publication, This Day newspaper. On its front page, it says, Ganduje, no vacancy in Aso Rock in 2027. And Ribadu is talking about social media. It's a local global threat. Now, he says, is a national security priority. Gentlemen and lady, I'll start with you, Constance.
Well, on the Ribadu story, we're talking about social media being a local and global threat. I think this story firmly places us at the center of conversations around the power of the internet and the far-reaching implications that it has in our lives in the 21st century. And he talks about Nigeria having reviewed its national security strategy last in 2015. There was one launched in 2019, and then he says today, because of this stress, it's a national security priority, the social media. We know that the internet has really provided opportunities, democratized information, and large volumes of information can be shared to the public. At the same time, it comes with its unique challenges. There's problems of fake news, misinformation, disinformation, and this is what a national security advisor, Mr. Nuhu Ribadu, was talking about. This is not a problem only for Nigeria. It's happening all over the world, and people are thinking, governments are thinking about how to deal it. The thing, though, is not to have a knee-jerk reaction like we did under former President Muhammadu Buhari, where he just unilaterally banned Twitter without due consultations. That's not the way to go about it. I think, it's a dynamic environment, and it's an issue that is evolving, and it will take time for governments to find, the proper way to deal with it. But the internet has come to stay. It has its positives, it has its negatives. The mainstream media no longer has monopoly, no autonomy. Everybody can share information, and we will have to deal with that.
Let me take up the Ganduje. Don't forget that when Nigeria banned Twitter, Twitter had to readjust and play to Nigerians' game.
Is Twitter still banned in Nigeria today?
No, it's not. Of course, they had to.
Yeah.
After discussions, don't forget. After discussions with Nigeria.
It's unhelpful because you cannot really regulate the internet, so it's a big space, and there are huge positives to it. There is no longer autonomy of information.
All right,
so,
let's look at Ganduje's, still on this day. The Ganduje, it says Ganduje, no vacancy in Asarok in 2027, discloses Tinubu battling with previous government's policy somersault. There's a paper that we're going to talk about that. I'll bring that up. Lemi.
Yeah, the Ganduje's statement, I really do think that at a time when Nigerians are grappling with untold hardship, particularly with the scarcity of fuel, where Nigerians are either stranded in bus stops on their way to work, unable to really get there, or where Nigerians have to stay long hours in the queue. Nigeria is losing a lot of man hours, and Ganduje prefers at this time to play politics. The most sensitive way to play politics at a time like this is actually to sue for patience and assure Nigerians that soon this fuel crisis will be over, that when you start a new regime like that, these challenges are inevitable. But you find that it's really insensitive. Nigerians want to be addressed on the issues and know when this perennial crisis will be over. Doing this politics at a time like this would actually instead draw more ill will of Nigerians against APC, because first deliver on your first 4 years, then you talk about no vacancy.
All right, in the last paper we talked about policy somersault. Now, Punch. Petrol hits 800, as 240, some are saying 1,000, as 240 million litre vessels arrive. And NPC is talking about disruptions and time that would take to correct. But then there's a story here too. Customers panic as CBN bans OPay, PalmPay, other new accounts. Let me still start with you. Let me pick.
Okay.
And then Edo workers hail Obaseki over 70,000 minimum wage.
Well, Obaseki is almost on his way out.
Is he playing politics?
Has decided that this is the time. Well, workers want any sort of relief. It doesn't matter, even if you call it a Greek gift. An extra 30,000 to the original minimum wage will be a big relief. Of course, critics have come out to say this is disguised vote buying in place. But then, if he has the courage to start it, we also expect that they will enforce it, because it's not enough to make pronouncements. What has Edo done in terms of internal generated revenue to be able to meet that kind of extra burden? Then when it comes to the petroleum issue, I've had to buy 10 liter at 9,000 naira yesterday. Last week I had to buy 10 liter at 12,000 naira. So yeah, when Nigerians get stranded, they just want to have availability of these products. But we must make it really clear. The dishonesty and economy with the truth of NNPCL is very disheartening. At a time like this, Nigerians are very resilient people. All they want is a situation where you explain to them frankly and openly that this is the challenge you are having. And to think that the same NNPCL will tell you that they have more than enough supply, yet we do not see it in the fuel stations. It's a troubling time, and Nigerians need some slack. They need to be given some slack and a break from this very difficult cycle of hardship and poverty.
All right. Constance, a word on customers panic as CBN bans OPay, PamPay, other news accounts. And then the News Telegraph, where is that paper now? I don't seem to see it. Is talking about we seek permission from bandits, but put FG, put interest of workers first. Labour tells FG, that is New Telegraph. And then that word on CBN banning OPay, PamPay and other accounts, Constance.
Well, it's going to be May 1, right? Today is 30th of April. So I think that story is expected because Labour, there's a celebration on May 1, it's Workers' Day. And so Labour would have to talk about how the government has to put the interest of workers first. What are the kind of environments that workers have to deal with, safe working environments, talking about fair wages, talking about the rights of workers. And so, yes, this is what Nigerians expect Labour to discuss with government and to negotiate. We're talking about negotiating higher wages. I don't know how that is going and how that will pan out, whether the government even has enough resources to, at this time, increase the wages of federal workers. And then when that happens, you have to also increase at the state level. We'll see how that goes at the end of the day. But the point is that you know, the country where you have workers, there should also be productivity. At the same time, the government should really work in the interest of workers, and that's what Labour is talking about there. Concerning OPay and the rest of them, we have seen in the economic environment where there are always different policies, you know, policies somersaults from time to time. That makes for instability, that makes for difficulties, you know, difficult operating environment, and that makes for dissatisfaction. And that is why a lot of people do not have the confidence to come into the market, because things are changing all the time. There's dynamism, but it's not the dynamism the type that you want to see. You want to see some measure of stability. You want to see that policies are set up and that they are rolled out and that are implemented properly, and that there are policies that actually help businesses, both local and international. So yeah, it's a story that is a source of worry, I think, to many Nigerians.
Yeah, what could bug me a little is that when you open the app, you see licensed by NDIC. So I'm wondering now what will happen. And most of these riders, most of them use these two particular accounts, OPay, PamPay, and then there's another one. So what's going to happen to them now? One, we'll wait and see. Maybe when we read, we'll get more information on that, why the government is doing that. But then I have these two stories here. I will take one international. I have done the South African own where, what is it said? The Times is going off and they're bringing in a new one. But there's this story on Tribune first. I'll stay with you, Constance, and I'll go to the foreign one on Forex Crisis, EFCC to freeze 1,146 individual company accounts. Account holders accused of illegal forest dealings, terrorism financing, and money laundering. What do you make of that story, briefly?
This is not a new development. We've had this over and over again. The EFCC, that's their job, to monitor this kind of financial problems or criminal activities that are going on in the economy and actually do something about it. The first thing is, yes, to find out, to report it, but the second thing is actually what do you do about it, because over the years it's been something that has been recurring, you know, so you want to see change, you know, you want to see that laws that are there in order to deal with this kind of criminal activities or problems are actually implemented, and that people that are caught red-handed or the people that are indicted or convicted actually go to jail for this kind of issues.
All right, let me, The Guardian, Yousaf quits as first minister after coalition gamble triggers S&P crisis. Looks like Labour is having a field day, while in Spain, Sanchez is staying put, even though his wife is being accused. What do you make of that story? And Hamas is being urged to accept what Blinken calls generous ceasefire plan.
There's some positives. Labour is making a real resurgence in the politics in the UK, and I think that it's time they build their momentum so that their political fortune is bolstered there. When it comes to the Hamas ceasefire agreement, the United States, Joe Biden, is bidding them to accept it. I do think that it's high time everybody sheath their sword. It's a war gone on for too long, and since there is an offer from Israel, it's time that we just took a breather and allow peace to reign at this time. There's been too many existential crises there with kids and mothers stranded badly. Lots of lives have been lost. At the end of the day, the circle of violence continues. I think it's time that Hamas also takes the olive branch.
With so many lives being lost, one can but hope for peace. Thank you so much, Dr. Constance Ikoku and Lemi Gobe, for being on Daybreak this morning. That's the press preview. For more, follow us on X at Arise.